Welcome back. Oh my god, that's a bad way to start. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the No Mods Podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Flores. Podcast comes out every Monday morning, typically, unless I'm not feeling it. But you can catch this episode on YouTube as you are watching it right now or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you for your continuous support. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast. Um, and you can also reach out to me on Instagram at adept_apron, or you can reach out to the podcast on Twitter at no_mods009. And welcome back to another episode. Um, this week's been kind of tricky, mostly because I've been trying to preoccupy my mind with finishing a painting that I've been working on. So I couldn't really come up with a few talking points this week, so this is going to be pretty slow and methodical, taking deep breaths. I'll try not to make it into ASMR, but it's gonna be a good podcast. Got to start off on the right foot. Um, is it Mother? Wait, what's today? Mother's Day is coming up. Wait, no, it's too early for that. Wait, today's oh no, it's 2 weeks. But Mexican Mother's Day, if you didn't know, is on May 10th, which after that would be May 14th for the International Mother's Day. So I think I got my mind a little too busy right now. So and then there's the whole shenanigans at work. So just trying to keep a good attitude, trying to keep my mind busy. Gotta let my mind breathe. But my bad, feeling kind of. So I had this really good burrito. You know, it I shouldn't say that like, oh, the burrito's gonna be good when there's greasy on the bottom. But there was a giant pool of grease on the bottom. So I think that might be why I'm feeling kind of sluggish right now, or like in general. Cause fuck, dude. I mean, it was fucking good, but I don't get. Usually the burritos aren't like that greasy, and like, so that's the catch, right? Like, is a greasy burrito good or not? Personally, I fuck with it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. And I mean, to play to play on the name of the podcast, it's no mods, right? It's not like you can ask for a burrito with less grease. I mean, it's gonna be greasy no matter what. Which is funny because I have heard people ask that like, ¿me puedo dar burrito con menos grasa? Which translates to, can I have that burrito with less grease? Less grease is the best way to ask for it because if you ask for no grease, then they kind of stare at you and like they probably like dump like half a thing of grease on it. So, but I mean, I think it's good. It's bad when you know it's been sitting there for a while. So like whenever they like reheat your protein in the grease, then it kind of tastes like whatever was there before, and then like all the flavors melt together, and that's when it's like it's not as good. And then I want to say Mexican food's the only place that does that because you can tell when places do that when I want to say recycle the oil, but like you can tell, or like fast food is usually where you can taste it, right? Like you can taste the old oil, like you can literally taste it. And when it comes to fries, you can taste like when it tastes like cardboard, and that's when you know it's like old oil. Because if you have fresh fries, it tastes completely different. Like you can taste the potato, and then it could be the type of potato, but usually French fries are pretty have a distinct flavor regardless. So, oh, let me take the phone off the desk before it makes a bunch of noise. Um, Chinga tu madre, güey, métate, cabrón. Okay, how's it going? Um, my bad. No, I don't know. What have you guys been up to? Did you guys making a omelet or what was the other thing? No, no, no. Wait, was it an omelet last time? Oh no, I said make a recipe. So what'd you guys make? What did I make? Um. Oh, I did make that weird thing. I call it weird because that was kind of like. I think I mentioned it before that my mom brings in veggies that are donated, like, cause she volunteers for the food bank. So sometimes she'll come in with a bag of like random foods. So it's pretty much they give us a bag of beef stew, and I had like a jar of black bean sauce, or yeah, it was black bean sauce. So then I decided to buy Vienna sausages for some reason. So pretty much it was I put in more carrots, more potato, and cabbage, and then I had to use the rest of my chicken stock. So I let that like simmer down to like a very concentrated chicken flavor, and everything was already cooked. So then I added the beef stew, the black bean sauce, and then I was like, something's missing because it was super savory, and I hit it with this one brand of sriracha called Badia, which tasted a lot more like, I don't know if you guys know what Lucas Candies is, or Lucas in general, or chamoy. You probably had something. I would say it was like if you hit chamoy with sriracha, and that was kind of what it tasted like. But it wasn't overpoweringly sweet. And then I added that in there, a splash of white vinegar. Came out really good. I'm wondering if it's similar to anything. I haven't really looked into it, like, cause I know the idea I was trying to play off of was one time I saw a high protein meal. It was buckwheat noodles, and it was jjajangmyeon with beef, carrots, onion, cabbage, potato, and you just add the jjajangmyeon gravy, and that would be it. You mix it all together and eat it hot or cold. So it kind of came from that, because I remember that tasting very like, I understood it because I didn't add any hot sauce to it. It was very like a savory sweet. So I think that should be a good way, because I did write a title for this, and I hope I hit record on the other one. Okay, I definitely did. I got scared. um, pero qué iba a decir? Oh, so this week, how about you guys? We all, or not you guys? How about we decide to make a salad? Very simple, refreshing salad. Even though there is a bit of a random cold wave hitting California right now, but a nice salad kind of hits the spot every once in a while. Because if you're gonna be, or as soon as a cold wave passes, a nice salad would do very good. Which I don't know what the fuck that was, but hi. ¿Qué te iba a decir? Salad. Da, 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 da. Oh, it's like how people don't know the fact that there's sardines in Caesar dressing, and then you're like, oh no, it's because it's Italian. Da, da, da. Like, it's not Italian. I think Caesar dressing came from Baja California, in case you didn't know. Which, fun fact of the day, right? We all learned something. Well, there are sardines in it, and that's what gives it that weird, like, I'm gonna call it umami flavor, but it's what gives it that like that meaty, savory flavor to the dressing, right? Because if you pull it out, it comes out pretty close, but you're missing that like note that makes it like round and meaty. Is the best way to explain it. The best way to explain a meaty tasting profile would pretty much be when you start adding Worcestershire to foods, because that helps it taste meaty, as well as MSG. But MSG just rounds out your flavor. And yes, I have used MSG to cook. Um, it's not as bad as you think. And then if you it was funny because I had a debate with someone, and then the following day TikTok started giving me a bunch of like why MSG is good for you, or like stop hating on MSG, like it's not as bad as people think. And I was like, hmm. But like I think the moral of the story behind the whole MSG scare is like obviously like consuming quantities. Like I had one of my friends was telling me, because he's cutting pretty hard, or he's on a very strict dietary plan for what he's trying to do at the gym, and we are talking about like how much tuna is safe for him and like seafood, and it's not necessarily like the levels of mercury or lead that like are in the fish, but like obviously tuna is a lot scarier because they're, one, it's canned, and like two, I'll see if I can get him fresh fish, but I'll look into that. But the moral of the story is like every fish has different types of quantities, so just be very mindful of how much fish you're actually consuming. Because at the same time, he said he was drinking 2 gallons of water, so I'm pretty sure he's filtering out a lot of those excess minerals and like metals and stuff. So in theory, I'm not too sure. He's in great shape, even though he's saying he gets really cold, even though it's not cold. But that just might be like his body like asking for more food. Because Scientifically, when we consume calories, we burn them, and that's what keeps us warm. Da, 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 da. So, like on a cold day, you always want something heavier because it's gonna make you nice and warm. In case you didn't know. Damn, I'm only at 10 minutes. I was hoping I would be at 20. Fuck, dude. Puta madre, wey. I need to stop watching the clock. In other news. A ver, ¿qué más tengo? I did have something else. I'm trying to remember. And I did write stuff on my little notebook. What was I gonna start talking about? Let's see. Well, obviously I need to fill in the time. So, I said I was gonna start asking you guys to make a salad. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a vinaigrette is, right? Obviamente. And I like how I talk about food and not show what it is. At some point, I will learn how to edit. But until then, enjoy me talking to you because this is all theory. And what I've noticed is, as far as food goes, if you're not willing to eat it, then you shouldn't make it, because or else you're not going to put the same amount of effort into it, right? So, but for those of you that are interested in making vinaigrette, or for the sake of you making food for your mom this Mother's Day coming up, then maybe you should listen up, because making a simple vinaigrette is very simple and very easy. If you have a blender, it'll make it easy. If not, there's other ways to make a vinaigrette, but I would suggest using a blender, because I do know there's those weird kitchen gadgets that help you make them. But or if you want to be simple about it, you can always do the little dish, the little saucer plate with olive oil and a splash of vinegar, usually balsamic. You can always get away with that and have some like nice bread, sourdough bread, or any bread, country bread. Dip and eat. Have it with a nice fresh salad with no dressing, Like you can do like a simple arugula strawberry walnut salad. That's already good pairing. And then if you want to be more bougie about it, you can always add on a sweet red wine with some fancy cheeses, which I think. Oh man, that's actually a good topic since Mother's Day is coming up. If you guys wanted to make, okay, let's finish the salads, right? Salads. But that is a good point. Damn. Salads. Let's go. Dressing. Pick your vinegar, or better way explain it. Get your acid. Get your olive oil. I like adding Dijon mustard. If you have mustard powder, that would work too. And then a little bit of honey and salt. So what you're gonna do is blender. If you don't want that much dressing, then you have to make sure you calculate this. This is the one time that you're gonna realize cooking is a science, because you would need three. Wait, what was it? No, yeah, 3 parts oil to 1 part acid. Right? Acid can be lemon juice if you want to make a lemon vinaigrette. So what you would do then is, if you're trying to make a cup, which would be the best way to like divvy it up, is 1/4 of that it's gonna be lemon juice. 2 tablespoons of honey, because that can help you emulsify in case you don't want to use the mustard. And then you're gonna add a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, or half a tablespoon of mustard powder. And what those do, it just makes it really thick and creamy. The honey also helps makes it creamy, but the honey will keep it more so that your vinaigrette sticks and doesn't like separate. So you added your honey, your mustard. I would say like a solid 2 pinch of salt. Boom, into the blender. Then you're gonna hit it with a 1/4 cup of. Oh no. And then a 1/4 cup of your acid, right? And I hope I didn't repeat myself, but you'll need that. So it's salt, honey, Dijon, acid. In this case, for this example, the lemon juice. So 1/4 cup lemon juice. And then you're gonna have, once you get that like on low speed, like mixing, but I don't think it'll be enough for you to mix, right? So what you're gonna do is have 3/4 cup of oil. It can be whatever oil you want. If you go for olive oil, I'm just letting you know, olive oil does have a bitter taste, so try to go with a more neutral oil. Which I would suggest looking for one of those ones that That's a blended oil. That's usually like a 60 a 60-40 split, but I'm trying to remember which way it splits. It might be like vegetable oil to olive oil, right? So have your oil ready, and then slowly, like a slow trickle, slowly start trickling it in, and then turn on your blender at like a medium speed and get that going, right? And then keep going, keep going, keep going. But make sure it's a slow trickle, because if you go too hard, what happens is you're not giving the opportunity for the emulsification to happen, right? Because what you're doing is you're forcing two things that don't normally go together to become one thing, and that's where the honey and the mustard powder come in, or the Dijon mustard, because it'll assist the agitation. Or once the agitation happens, it'll make sure it stays that way, like it won't separate, right? You're gonna keep going, and then once you're like halfway through your oil, and you can see that like, oh, like it's looking pretty thick, then you can start going pretty hard with it. Like not like full tilt, but you can go like twice as fast until you're all out. And then what you do is you're gonna stop. So a suggestion, if it gets too thick, is probably add a little bit of water, but not too much, because you're gonna add a third thing to two things. So like you're kind of like bulking it up. So uh, that that's my suggestion. Um, but normally if you commit, like it'll fix itself. Um, and then if it does break, then the only thing I suggest would be um pouring that out and just adding your acid, and then try having your pouring your first attempt into the new attempt, because it's already emulsified. It has everything in it. I would just suggest adding a little bit more mustard powder, but it's one of those things that's only done by like, well, it's cooking, you know? Like you typically only get one chance, right? Like what happened with the omelet, right? Like if you fucked up once, you would have to redo it again. Like you can't use the same old eggs. But this would be one of those occasions where it can. But let's say your second attempt, you did what I just suggested, and it still doesn't turn out. Then I would suggest just starting over. Or there is a such thing as a broken vinaigrette, or like a semi-broken vinaigrette. So like, let's say if you shake up your vinaigrette and like it turns into a vinaigrette and then it separates, I think you can play that. But like, it's not as presentable, right? We'll go with that. But in this case, I'm pretty sure your mom would enjoy the effort of you trying to make a vinaigrette from scratch, because I think it's one of those easy things that can easily impress people, especially if you understand like the flavor profile, because that would be the next thing that's hard to understand, and which goes into hand in hand why I brought up honey, because if you're gonna make like a charcuterie board and you're gonna have like a nice little salad on the side, you want to add the honey to like help with the sweetness, because charcuterie boards are either like salty and like very like cream, like the cheeses are very dense, right? So like having like a sweet component to it definitely like helps like level it out, because one of them's salty, the other one's cheesy and like filling, and you have something sweet. So you gotta work with the flavors that you have. So bringing up the charcuterie board, right? Like, or the cheeses. Um, Cheeses I would suggest for starters would definitely be goat cheese. Or if you want to be a super starter, is what I would call it, you can have Boursin cheese, which is kind of like, I would call it as like cream cheese with herbs. So it's pretty fucking good. And you can have that with some crackers. Um, I'm trying to think of other examples that would be pretty good. Like I personally like Drunken Goat. Because I'm also trying to think of examples that aren't just around here. Because I know Drunken Goat's really good. Holy Cow's amazing. The Cypress Grove is really good, if I'm saying that right. I think that might be the creamery. There's Mendocino Farms has pretty decent cheese. Not gonna lie. And then if you happen to see Schotch Farms, I don't know how to say that one correctly. Those cheeses are pretty good. They're very like what's the correct way to say it? It tastes like real cheese. Like I think because it's local, it tastes more real. Like you can tell like it hasn't traveled too far. If that makes any sense for you guys. Um, but I mean, I've also seen the party trays of like cheddar and like Monterey Jack, and it's honestly the cheeses you choose for your charcuterie board can just be what you are accustomed to, or if you know your mom pretty well, and be like, oh, she probably just likes Mexican cheeses, and just go with Mexican cheeses. Like, um, I think queso fresco is an excellent selection, and you can like roll it in like you get the quarter wheel, because I'm pretty sure you don't want that much, and you can roll it with like tajin or something. I don't know, that would make it too salty. Never mind. But like you can have a little bit of fun with it. Like sesame seeds, that'd probably be pretty good. Um, queso fresco would be not so good. I guess there's not that many cheeses for charcuterie with Mexican food, unless you can find like firmer cheeses. Then by all means. But like, I now I'm obsessing about charcuterie boards because I'm trying to explain it to you in a good way. Because they are insanely flexible, and they're mostly catered to whoever you're serving. So you can just add a bunch of stuff your mom likes. Not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure she'll just enjoy the wine just as well. So, and I would, I should dabble on wine a little bit, but I'm not too familiar with them. Um, cause, cause all I know is my mom likes Stella Rose. I'm like, that's not even wine. I mean, it's a wine, but it's like, it's not a wine, like a name wine. It just branded very well. Like it's tasty, it's sweet, but like if you wanted like a sweet wine, like I would just like a Pinot Noir, just because of I like the blackberry notes in it, or like the blackberry preserve notes, but that's mostly me. Um, Merlot's too sweet for me. I know there's some people that like enjoy drinking port wine. I think is the name of it, or like those like very heavy wines. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys sip on that. Like, it just baffles me. And then like the other part that I would suggest about like trying to find the meat. My bad. There's paint on the floor. Uh, Trying to find the meat for charcuterie board is just go for anything pre-sliced. Like, um, usually like the local markets will like have a good selection of it. Um, or if you go to like a Nob Hill or Vaughn's, I think they have a pretty decent selection as well. I've no, the Boar's Head brand is pretty good. So if you see Boar's Head like at a supermarket, you probably find a good selection of sliced meat. Um, I know the small local hippie market has a good selection of has a decent tray for a good price of like prosciutto, salami, and what was it, capicola. That shit was fire. Um, but probably like Whole Foods would probably be your best bet at a decent price point because I'm not too sure where else to find it that would slice it fresh for you. Unless you got a plug like I do. I can just be like, hey, me da una media libra de capicola, de enchilada, por favor. Gracias. No, I'm kidding. I don't have a plug like that. Ay, cabrón. But yeah, I think for this week we should try to make a salad, or at least practice making a salad, because I mean, the countdown for Mother's Day is right around the corner. So, like I said, let's review real quick. You would need, it's a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 oil, 1 acid, and once you start blending, take your time, don't rush it. The 3-to-1 ratio can be made with any volume of liquids, but just keep in mind that you'll probably end up making more than you intend to. So that's why I said a fourth of a cup acid to 3/4 of a cup um, oil, because then that should total up to about a cup. And you're probably going to end up getting a little bit more than a cup because it does aerate, and you're also adding in um, your mustard and honey, and mustard powder, or yeah, the mustard and honey. And honestly, the acid can be anything you want. It can be from a vinegar to like a fruit juice to trying to think what else. Excuse me. And then like let's say you don't want to use honey, because of you're vegetarian or something. You can always do agave syrup. It works pretty well. It's a pretty neutral tasting, but it doesn't make it as thick. But it will help it balance the emulsion. Um, and I'm just letting you know that if you add too much mustard, it will make it too thick, and it might scare you once you start blending it. But just make sure you take your time. And a very beginner move would be if you have the opportunity to have like a sealed container, or I've seen it. I'm not sure how well it works. If you have the shaker bottles like they do for gyms, I heard it's very possible to make a vinaigrette in one of those, or at least take the steel ball and add it to a different like to a plastic bottle and you just shake it like that. Um, but I mean it works, and I think doing it that way will lead to a more successful semi-broken one where it'll hold. Um, but again, the key point to this is how fast you add your oil, right? So, um, or you can just follow a recipe, but just keep in mind, take your time with the oil. That'll make or break you. And then other components to a salad is besides just greens, it would be just have fun with it. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Just add cucumber, tomatoes. I don't know if you're into onions. I am. You can add bacon bits or croutons or pepitas or pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. Like, there's a variety of croutons you can do, but the keyword for a crouton is something crunchy. The keyword for the greens can be anything you want, but just keep in mind if it's arugula, it's very peppery and kind of bitter. So you do want to balance it with like a more tangy flavor profile, which is why I brought up the lemon vinaigrette. And you're also welcome to add herbs to your vinaigrette because it'll mostly add flavor. It won't really affect the ratio. And if you're thinking like, oh, that might be too much oil, you're welcome to do a 2-to-1 ratio. It typically works. But then at that point, I do suggest, if you think it's too loose by the end of it, just add a little bit more mustard or honey to it. And then just keep in mind, honey is a very strong flavor. So if you go too hard on the honey, then you essentially just made a honey vinaigrette, which is pretty good. But I'm just letting you know. And you could probably base with the honey vinaigrette, not gonna lie. So, and just like that, I actually filled in the time. I think I appreciate you guys' support. I know some of these episodes are kind of hard to listen to. This is probably one of them, but I do want to admit that I do appreciate you guys' support. I mean, I need your guys' support, not just for the podcast, the success of the podcast, but like, it's good to know that there is somebody on the other side that's willing to entertain themselves with whatever I got to say every week. And I don't know where this honesty is coming from. It's not just filling in time. I'm just being very genuine that I do appreciate your guys' continuous support. And I'll keep you guys posted on anything new changes about the podcast. But for now, thank you for listening to another episode of the No Mods Podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Flores. You can reach out to the podcast on Twitter at NO_MODS009. You can reach out to me on Instagram at adept_apron. And you're welcome to rewatch all the other episodes on YouTube or listen to any of the episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you guys come back next week. And let's start practicing for Mother's Day, because by the time you realize it, it's already going to be tomorrow. So don't forget about that. And also, I'm literally going to go shopping right now for Mother's Day. So hope you guys good luck in trying to find something for your mama. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And happy Monday as well. Oh, man.